One assistant to an alderman making more than $268,000 a year. Another making more than $238K a year. A staff assistant making more than $237,000 a year. We found at least a dozen staffers with these generous salaries making even more than their bosses. The top-paid alderman makes $152,000 a year. And yes, taking home even more than the mayor of Chicago, who earns $221,000 a year. Unbelievable was right.
Hannibal here, and we have to talk about these bonuses some of these aides are getting. Now in Chicago, they are facing a potential shutdown. Property taxes are up, bills are up, people are really mad. And today we're going to talk about this really interesting article that came out a couple of days ago because it shows you what's going on in this council. The paychecks, who is getting raises, how much they're getting, and why is this blowing up in City Hall's face? Because when people say it feels like City Hall doesn't live in the same Chicago as the rest of the people there, this is what they mean. Let's get into it.
Let's talk about these raises. Michael J. McMurray, $58,000 raise if this budget passed. Chris Brown, over the public library that I can't even get the footage when I was attacked. But he's getting a $15,000 raise. Nancy Andrick, that's getting a $26,000 raise. Tierra Hughes, that's getting a $22,000 raise. Randy Connor, that's getting a $16,000 raise. Cole Stellert, that's getting a $16,000 raise. Michael Belsky, that's getting a $19,000 raise. Angela Tarver, that's the Department of Environment that you was talking about. Angela Tarver, $30,000 raise.
So when you over here talking about we want to put skin in the game to raise corporate taxes and stuff, you want to tax the rich, but you got $5 million in the CTU pension plan. You need to tax yourself on that one right there.
So let's talk about this situation here. This whole situation started with the salary database, the city's own public pay records, the same database that journalists, watchdogs, and regular residents can access. So we saw a lot of wild numbers.
CBS News Chicago is listening to you, and this investigation started with an email from a viewer pointing us to the city of Chicago's salary database and something that seemed unbelievable. One assistant to an alderman making more than $268,000 a year. Another making more than $238K a year. A staff assistant making more than $237,000 a year. We found at least a dozen staffers with these generous salaries making even more than their bosses. The top-paid alderman makes $152,000 a year. And yes, taking home even more than the mayor of Chicago, who earns $221,000 a year. Unbelievable was right.
Now, City Hall says that was an error. They argue that some of the numbers were misread, mischaracterized, or pulled without full context. Things that overtime jumped in, temporary adjustments, and timing issues that make salaries look higher than expected.
The city told us the yearly salary data on their website is not correct. In a statement, the Office of Budget and Management explained that the numbers are incorrectly inflated due to temporary pay increases applied towards the end of the budget year, or what most people would call end-of-the-year bonuses.
That is, of course, a transparency problem. We have a city data portal that shows taxpayer-funded salaries. It ought to be accurate. We ought to be showing the real amount.
But let's just be nice. Databases aren't perfect. Raw numbers can be misunderstood, sure. But this is the part that a lot of people focused on. Even after you account for the corrections, explanations, and the technical errors, the bigger picture doesn't change. People still see insiders getting raises. They still see payroll growing, and they're still staring at tax bills that they can't afford.
Homeowners say they simply don't have the cash.
I don't know what I'll do.
Gerald Sukol says he's lived in Garfield Ridge his entire life. He was one of many waiting in line at the county building, facing tax bills far beyond anything he expected.
My tax bill had doubled. It went from $9,600 to $19,100.
Hard. The assessor's office data shows Garfield Park faces a 133% increase, and North Lawndale is slated for a 99% jump.
The people who can least afford to pay are given the highest bills. It means get out of town.
And the reasons go beyond rising residential values.
It's a zero-sum game when one group pays less everyone else picks up the tab.
The problem is what the corrected numbers still show. That Chicago, just like the entire state of Illinois, is one of the most corrupt places in the country. They searched the names, they sorted out by department, they compared year over year. And this is where a lot of alarms are going off. People are seeing aides and staffers, people that they never voted for, pulling in 6 figures and then getting 5-figure raises, bonuses on top of that.
29th Ward Alderman Chris Taliaferro, for example, told us the extra funds can be due to things like resignations, terminations, or leaves of absence. So he reallocates unspent portions of the $309,000 a year budgeted for his staff assistants accordingly. City council members who we reached out to about the temporary salary bumps defended the practice, saying it prevents turnover and rewards hardworking staffers.
This is why people are so mad. While Chicago may enter a shutdown, there's people working for the alderman and the mayor getting massive raises. For what? Now, this is not me hating on people having a job or getting a bonus, but this is public funds. This is taxpayer money. So the problem is you cannot raise property taxes on people who are already struggling and then quietly approve raises for city insiders at the same time. Remember, they are in a massive deficit. So how are you going to be able to explain this to residents that can't pay their tax bills, while the residents are opening tax bills that jumped from hundreds or thousands of dollars? City Hall insiders are getting raises like $15,000, $22,000, $26,000, $30,000 raises for aides, for department staff, for people Chicago never even voted for. So here's a very simple question. If the city is broke, why is payroll going up? Now, we all focus on the mayor, we all focus on the alderman, but the city is run on aides, policy aides, legislative aides, department heads, advisors. They write the memos, they draft the budgets, they shape what the aldermen see, and they're insulated. They don't have to knock on doors, they don't have to face voters at the grocery store, they don't have to explain tax hikes to seniors, but they do get raises. And that's the quiet layer people are being mad about, because the people in Chicago are looking around and they're asking some questions. What did we get for all this money that we're giving to the aides? Did the trains get better and safer? Did housing costs stabilize? Did property taxes stop climbing? Did transparency improve? All those answers are no. So from a resident's perspective, they're earning more and nothing is getting better. And timing matters, especially what's happening right now during record property tax increases. Some neighborhoods are seeing increases over 100%. People are talking about selling their homes that they probably had for decades. When residents hear that the city aides are getting raises, it doesn't land like, well, this is just a normal budgeting situation. It lands like they're protecting themselves first. And once people believe that, every speech sounds fake. Not just to the mayor, but to the alderman. The alderman, just like the mayor, has contributed to this nonsense of how terrible Chicago has been run for the last couple of years. So no, this isn't about envy or hating. It's about priorities. If the city is asking residents to sacrifice, then City Hall has to sacrifice too. No protected insiders, no quiet raises, no pretending that this is just a normal year. Because when people say Chicago feels unstable, it's not just crime or taxes. It feels like the people in charge are not sharing the pain. The mayor talks about putting skin in the game.
I think it's clear here that the city of Chicago is leading the way, challenging that the ultra-rich and these big corporations who continue to enjoy the benefit of the Trump administration, that they have to put more skin in the game.
But is he really doing that when he's giving his friends and allies and aides raises? No, it sounds like a bunch of nonsense. That's why he is so unpopular. You know what they say, follow the paychecks, they tell the real story. But let me know what you guys think about this situation. Do you think these raises are justified? Or is City Hall completely out of touch? Let me know what you guys think about this story in the comments below. Thank you for taking time to watch this video, and I'll see you guys in the next video.